All rights reserved to the owners and creators of the music, sounds, and video clips used in this presentation. No copyright infringement is intended. This is for academic discussion and information dissemination purposes only. The Legal Unit presents Alternative Dispute Resolution in the Department of Education. This session will help us to resolve workplace conflicts, identify modes of settling conflicts, understand the importance of conflict resolution, and learn the proper handling of grievance complaints in the Department of Education. Let's start by defining what is conflict. Conflict is often defined as a struggle or disagreement. But why conflicts must be resolved? Obviously, conflicts are inevitable. It is part of all relationships between individuals who work together. If we understand conflicts, we are in a better position to intervene earlier and put in place effective interventions. To better understand, let's go to the common forms of conflict resolution. First, litigation. Second, mediation. Third, arbitration. And fourth, negotiation. Among the four that was mentioned, mediation, arbitration, and negotiation are the three alternative modes of settling disputes. To give you a clear view of these modes, let's begin with litigation. Litigation is the process of taking legal actions through public court system. Usually, the conflict resolver is appointed by the state. It is a very formal process where proceedings strictly adhere to the rules of court. In fact, lawyers are needed by the parties to represent them. Since it is adversarial in nature, one wins and the other loses. Let's go to arbitration. Arbitration is the most common alternative dispute resolution. It involves the submission of a dispute to an independent third party who is appointed by both parties and will render a final decision. It is also a formal and adversarial process that can be conducted with or without lawyers. Next is negotiation. In this mode, the parties control the process. It is a discussion aimed at reaching an agreement which must be made by both parties with or without lawyers. By negotiating, all parties try to avoid arguing but agree to reach some form of compromise. Basically, the outcome is whatever the parties agree to. Lastly, mediation. In this process, the mediator is selected by the parties. Though selected by them, the former only facilitates the process. Lawyers may attend the mediation conference subject to the discretion of the mediator. If allowed, they will only act as advisors. In this mode of alternative dispute resolution, the outcome is a win-win solution which will be decided by the parties. Let's summarize the benefits of litigation and alternative dispute resolution through this comparative matrix. Let us now discover what are the forms of conflict resolution being undertaken in the Department of Education. Let's start with litigation. Litigation in the Department of Education is being undertaken based on DepEd Order No. 49 Series of 2006, also known as the Revised Rules in Administrative Cases. These internal rules provide for specific rules of procedures, starting from the filing of complaints, including its required form, up to the termination of the administrative case or upon finality of the decision of the disciplining authority or appellate body. But since the session is in pursuant to complaints prevention advocacy of the legal unit, we will focus on alternative dispute resolution. That being said, what are the alternative dispute resolution adopted by the Department of Education? Here we have two. The grievance proceedings under DepEd Order No. 35 Series of 2004, and the other is mediation proceedings under DepEd Order No. 15 Series of 2012. Let's start with grievance. What are grievances? These are the work-related discontentment or dissatisfaction. A system to respond and determine or provide the best way to remedy the causes of the grievance. It helps promote wholesome and desirable employee relations in the department and to prevent employee discontent and dissatisfaction. What is the scope of this grievance machinery? Only employees of the Department of Education. This includes teachers, locally paid teachers, deployed or detailed in DepEd, practicing teachers, but all of them must be assigned in the same school. Non-teaching personnel are also within the scope of this procedure. Now that we know the scope of this procedure, let's proceed with the basic rules in grievance. Remember, expeditious resolution beginning at all times at the lowest level possible. Due process is observed. In fact, lawyers are not allowed. What about the coverage of grievance proceeding? First, non-implementation of policies, practices, procedures. Basically, with regards to policies and practices, this involves dispute related to economic and financial issues and other terms and conditions of employment fixed by law. While in procedures, it involves human resource actions which affect employees from recruitment until retirement. Most common causes of grievances are the following. In financial benefits fixed by law, it can be delay or denial of in-house loans, delay or non-payment of overtime pay, denial of leaves, delay or denial of allowances or salaries, delay or non-payment of PBB or other benefits. In HR actions, it can be non-implementation of 6 hours actual teaching hours, delay or non-processing of leaves, reassignment, transfer or detail, loading or level assignment, and poor performance rating. The second coverage of grievance proceedings is inadequate physical working conditions. Examples of this are lack of proper ventilation, insufficient facilities and equipment. The third coverage is the poor interpersonal relationships and linkages. What are the common signs of this? Spends most of the time inside the office room, has 2 to 3 favorites, sends messages only to them, negative-minded, always sees the bad, always uses SMS, emails, chat, and phone calls to converse. Fourth coverage is the canteen management issues provided under DepEd Order No. 8, Series of 2007, which commonly involves school versus teachers cooperatives, simple accounting, suppliers, prices, goods to be sold. But take note, it does not include administrative offenses under DepEd Order No. 49, Series of 2006. Lastly, all other matters giving rise to employee dissatisfaction and discontentment. That being the case, what are matters not covered by grievance procedure? Number 1, all administrative cases. Example, graft and corrupt practices, child abuse, sexual harassment, dishonesty. And number 2, union-related issues and concerns. To further understand, these are the common example of grievable issues. I should be promoted because I am more qualified. I should be rated outstanding. I should be the BSP coordinator. I should be given lesser load. Teachers should have their own faculty room. Flexi time should apply to me. My SDS doesn't want to give me authority to practice or teach. Always remember, administrative issues involves malice, evil intention, and bad faith. We have to take note that in handling grievances, procedures must be followed. Now that we are oriented with the scope and coverage of the grievance, we are ready to understand the grievance procedure. Let's start by familiarizing ourselves with the rules of jurisdiction in grievance proceedings. The jurisdiction lies in the immediate supervisor and grievance committees. Now that we know who has jurisdiction over grievance issues, let me walk you through with the step-by-step procedure of this policy. At the onset, upon receiving the complaint, which may be verbal or written, a discussion with the immediate supervisor will be undertaken to determine whether the issues raised are grievable or not. If it is a non-grievable issue, the same will be considered as an administrative case and DepEd Order No. 49 Series of 2006 or the revised rules in administrative cases will be followed. In the oral discussion, the following shall be observed. Number 1. The employee or the aggrieved party shall be put at ease. Number 2. The employee or the aggrieved party shall be encouraged to talk. Number 3. There should be privacy in discussion. And number 4. The case shall be heard fully. In the conduct of discussion of the parties, the nature of this initiative is similar with an informal mediation where parties are allowed to agree on a solution. If parties agrees, the supervisor shall make a decision based thereon, or an informal arbitration where supervisor hears both parties in a conference and thereafter makes a lawful decision on his or her own. This stage must be undertaken within 3 days from the presentation of the grievance. However, where the object of the grievance is the immediate supervisor, the aggrieved party must bring the grievance to the next higher supervisor. If the dispute were not resolved at this stage, the same may be appealed to the higher supervisor within 5 days. The higher supervisor may schedule a conference and shall decide within 5 days from the receipt of the appeal. If one of the parties is unsatisfied with the decision of the higher supervisor, the same will now be forwarded to the Grievance Committee within 5 days. At this stage, the Grievance Committee may conduct investigation within 10 days. The Grievance Committee is given 5 days after the investigation to issue a decision on the matter. The unsatisfied party will still have a remedy to appeal the decision of the Grievance Committee by appealing the same to the next higher Grievance Committee. For instance, if the lower Grievance Committee is the school grievance who decided the case, the same may be appealed to the Division Grievance Committee. On the other hand, if the decision came from the Regional Grievance Committee, the same may be appealed to the Office of the Secretary, then to the Civil Service. The appeal before the Civil Service will be considered as the final appeal. To summarize this procedure, let me show you this summarized flow chart. Finally, to complete our understanding of the grievance procedure of the Department of Education, it is important to know the composition of the Grievance Committee. First, we have the School Grievance Committee, composed of the principal or head teacher, president of the faculty club, a teacher who is acceptable to both the aggrieved party appointed by the principal or head teacher, while the Regional Grievance Committee is composed of the following. Lastly, the Department Grievance Committee is composed of the following. Ronald Reagan said, "Peace is not the absence of conflict, it is the ability to handle conflict by peaceful means." As we reach the end of this session, may every one of you be able to take home the learnings you obtained and truly understand the importance of conflict resolution, not just in the workplace, but also in your daily lives. Remember, most of your stress comes from the way you respond, not the way life is. At the end of the day, a stress-free life is a healthy life. No part of this presentation may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any means, including recording or any other electronic or mechanical methods, without prior written permission to the creator, except in the case of brief quotation embodied in reviews and certain other non-commercial uses permitted by copyright law.